talk over this way and stuff.
Or not. I don't know what's going on here, gentlemen. Well, you know. Don Mcguire, tonight is a tremendous show for me. As you can see, I have Randy Commish Gordon, you know, and he's a man that I idolize on his walk. And, you know, it's great. I'm grateful that he joined the show with me tonight. And as you can see, the one and only Hall of Fame world champion, Mr. Virgil Hill. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's okay. I know you got class going on. The Wi-Fi is a little slow, but hey, we're going to make it happen. You know, what I'm going to do tonight, since this is Randy's first time on with me and you, I'm going to go ahead and toss the mic to Randy and let Randy start the show this evening.
Well, thank you very much, Don. I mean, just joining you and Virgil Hill is a real honor to me. I haven't seen Virgil in years, and you look in fighting shape. You look younger than ever, Virgil. What have you been doing? Give us your secret.
These kids that I have out here. Yeah, they keep me young, keep me on my toes and stuff. I'm still involved in the amateur boxing stuff, and still dabbling in the professional side of it as well. So,
you know, let's go back, because you were on that great, and I do mean great, Olympic team in 1984, where just everything you guys did was just special. The Olympics were in Los Angeles. And I remember telling Mark Breland, when Howard Cosell shakes your hand, you're going to laugh, because he shakes hands. He doesn't grab your hand. He holds it very loose. And he goes, and he'll say, "Thank you very much, Mark. You're a good kid."
That's good.
With that, it did happen. And on camera, as this was going on, I'm watching Breland, and he's starting to laugh. He said, "Oh my God, how did you know he was going to do that?" I said, "I've been around Howard Cosell so much." But Breland said, "You called it exactly as he was going to do it." And then that night at the Garden, when all of you guys made your debut, it was such a special night back in November 1984. When you think of that night, tell us how you remember that night.
Well, for me, it was all just almost like a big surprise. I mean, 1 minute I'm this kid from North Dakota, 700,000 people, or in the whole state of North Dakota. The next thing I'm fighting at Madison Square Gardens. I mean, it's just an unbelievable thing. You know, it's something that I never ever anticipated in my life that would have or could have ever happened, and it happened right off the bat.
Well, you went on to have an absolutely amazing career.
Thank you.
Did your career take you where you thought it would, where you wanted it to go? I mean, I thought you had truly an unbelievable career, but your feelings about everything you did.
Tell you the truth, I had no expectations, because nobody ever made the Olympics where I come from, you know, in boxing. Right. And I didn't know the natural transition from amateur to pro was right after the Olympics. I wanted to fight the Korean again. get my payback. And then everybody was like going, yeah, you should probably turn pro. And I had to ask my dad. And my dad said, yeah, it looks like you need to turn pro. So I had no idea that was the natural transition. And then I hooked up, with some guys, and then I got Eddie Futch as a trainer right
Yeah.
off the jump, and kind of guided my career at the very beginning. Now, of course, I had Freddie Roach as well. I'm Freddie's first world champion, and
Right.
that's very fortunate.
And Big Mike Hall.
Big Mike Hall. Mike was my first cut man. At first, he was my cut man, and then he ended up being my trainer towards the end of my career. Some of my biggest fights was with Mike Hall. He's like a father to me.
Do you ever get to speak to some of the guys like Evander, like Mark Breland, any of those guys?
No. I guess you got to remember, I got on the Olympic team about almost a year before the Olympics, which generally doesn't happen, but it did for me. And so I didn't really know those guys. I fought internationally and stuff like that, but Mark was injured for almost a year or something with his hand or something like that. So I didn't really spend a lot of time with them other than in training camp when we were getting ready for the fights.
Yeah. Virgil, I'm going to jump in here real quick because, a comment came in that kind of is going to lead me down the path that I was going to kind of follow tonight. If I can get the comment up. A gentleman, a young boxer out of California, Nate Wren, and also a young photographer and a good buddy of mine. He says, my favorite Native American boxer of all time. Virgil, a lot of people, they don't understand that you were born in Clinton, Missouri, about an hour and a half from where I'm at. Then you went up to North Dakota.
Yep.
But prior to that, there was a Native American by the name of Marvin Camel.
Oh boy, yeah.
And yes, sir. Being that you're of Native American descent, what did it mean for you to truly, in a roundabout way, become the second Native American champ in boxing history?
It meant a lot. I mean, I wanted to be that guy that could tell those kids that, if you believe it, you can achieve it. You just got to reach out there and grab it and take hold of it and put that work in, Well, I'm still waiting for them, but I believe at one point, they're going to get there.
Yeah.
What do you, since your boxing days ended around, I guess it was about 2007 or something like that. Then there was an incredible layoff, and you came back with one more fight about 8 years later,
Right.
which you won. First of all, what brought you back 8 years later for that one fight? Was it the fact that you maybe dropped a decision to a very talented Firat Arslan in that last fight?
Yeah.
I always thought that maybe it just didn't sit well with you, that loss, and you wanted to go out on a win. Am I right there? Or
no, it was just a send-off fight for all the people from North Dakota, everybody that had supported me and stuff like that. And then I was in a bad car accident with my son. I was on the way taking him down to baseball, and we rolled our car in Texas. And then the doctor comes out and he goes, well, I hope you're done with boxing because you'll never box again. I go, if I believed everything that everybody ever said that I could do, I never would have made it. So that lit a fire under me, and I had to fight one more time. And that was merely it. I mean, I wasn't trying to make a big push to go do this and that and stuff. My time was my time, and you know, I did everything that I possibly could with it,
Mhm.
and and I'm satisfied.
How you did mention that you were in the car with your son.
Mm.
How old was he then, and did he recover from those injuries?
He didn't get hurt at all. He was actually the one driving through Texas. It rained real hard, and he overpowered the wheel, and the car flipped and stuff. So when it landed on my side, the passenger side. So
Gotcha.
he didn't get hurt at all. We were taking him. He had just gotten drafted by the Royals and stuff, and so we were taking him down to spring training. My wife and I and my son. My wife was in the car in the back seat as well and stuff, and nothing happened to either of them. He got a little cut and stuff, but I smashed some vertebrae and I was cut across here and stuff like that. So I took the blunt end of it, and but I'm still here. So
And we're happy. We're very
yeah,
happy with that.
yeah. Thank
You
you,
know,
thank you.
let me get a couple of these comments out of the way. First, tremendous person, as a friend of Randy's, Mr. Jeff Tavel says, hello, Don, Commish, and Champ. And then I don't know, for some reason, my studio is glitching tonight. And then we've got Paul Driscoll out of Toronto, Canada. They call him Little Holmes, one of the biggest Larry Holmes fans that there possibly could be. He says, good evening, Don and Randy and Champion Virgil. Good evening again, gentlemen. And, Virgil, what I love about you is your love for the youth and the sport. Take me back to 1984 when you won the Golden Gloves. Would you say that was the first stone on the path for Virgil Hill?
Well, I got runner up in the back then. It was the ABF, so I lost to Michael Grogan in the finals.
I thought in 1984 you won the National Golden Gloves at middleweight.
And then the Golden Gloves came around and stuff, and the Golden Gloves gave me the opportunity to go to the trials.
Okay.
And stuff, and yeah, I'm a big fan of the Golden Gloves. Yeah, so that's what got me in.
Is that what it still has you giving back to the kids today? Because many people don't know that you really have dedicated your life to the creation of the future of the sport. You've taken your love, your passion, and your drive, and you're instilling it into these youth today. To me, that even makes you a greater champion than what you were in the ring.
I appreciate that. I don't know. I just, I have a lot of kids that, have to find their way. And sometimes, a lot of times boxing is a start, is a platform for them. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Paul Driscoll, I love him to death. He says 20 title defenses. Commish, I really wanted to create an opportunity so both of you can come together and he can get a greater understanding, because Virgil and I go way back. So, Commish, I'm going to kind of let you take the driver's seat for a minute here. Go ahead, brother.
When you first told me that you'd like to have me on with Virgil Hill, I couldn't believe it, because I became friendly with so many, a New Yorker. Of course, me and Breland go way back. I saw every one of his amateur fights. And then on the USA Network, I called many of Evander Holyfield's fights. But right before we went on, I was getting to talk to Virgil, and, the two of us our paths never really crossed. I mean, I covered many of his fights. When he turned pro, I was editor of Ring, but I was just leaving the ring. But I still went to many of his fights, but I never really, other than sitting in the media room with 200, 300 other members of the media and throwing a question out. So, Virgil, I never got to one-on-one meet you. And finally, that moment comes now, and I thank Don for bringing us together.
Well, I appreciate it too. Thank you.
And that's what life is about. So life is about sharing each other's walks and equating each other, that have truly built this sport. We all love this sport. You know, we would all give our right arm for the sweet science. So, like I said, Kamish, you know, the floor is yours. I mean, you deserve an opportunity to be with the champion just as much as I do, sir.
And here we are. So
Right on the spot.
I got to ask the champ. So, you know, you are working with the youth. Is there
Yes.
any other thing that you're doing, or is it just that you're spending so much time with the youth? Because we do have to pay bills.
Yeah, well, I do. That is my wife and I. Luckily, I met my wife in '84 in the
Right.
Olympics. She was a track and field runner, and so that's what we do. She coaches track, and I do boxing. And I tell her, I go, I like track better than boxing, and she likes boxing better than track.
That's so funny. And now
Funny.
I've got to ask you maybe the toughest question you've ever been asked.
Uh-oh.
Who's the boss in the house, you or your wife?
My wife. That's not tough.
Yeah.
I know that. We got the same thing.
I'm only saying that because she'll probably see this. Yeah, my wife and I we're a really good team together. I'm very, very fortunate to have, you know, someone like her. She's a beautiful person inside and out, and I'm very, very fortunate.
How long you been married?
Uh,
Got to think
I
about
have to
that.
say on and off for 30 some years.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
And she
I
must
did
be
say on
absolutely
and off.
okay.
She did give me a break there for a minute, and then I had to find myself and come back and humble and all that. So yeah.
See, on
Yeah.
and off is one thing, but right. I mean, it's on and probably till eternity. Good for you guys.
It is for me. I just she's outstanding. Good job, boys. Um, she's an outstanding person. I mean, she was a hard worker as a track athlete and stuff.
Mhm.
She went to 4 Olympics. She missed her 5th Olympics by 10th 100 of a second. You know, it's just she's phenomenal, and her
Really?
work ethic and stuff. You know,
Wow.
correlated with my kind of work ethic and stuff like that. It was just, yeah.
What track event did she specialize in? Long distance,
No,
speed, or
no,
whatever?
400 sprinter,
Oh, wow.
4, 2, and the 1. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now,
So she trains all my kids, you know, on the weekend for
mhm.
running and stuff like that and conditioning. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
when you were boxing, were you with her at that time back in the
Yes.
now
Yes.
did she work with you as you did your road work?
I and I tell my kids, I said all my track stuff that I did was from her because
Nice.
track is time. And so what she does is she does the time and the distance and stuff like that correlation with the time. So um, yeah, I got, you know, so I'd be running 800 meters and stuff like that, which is roughly 3 minutes, take you 3 minutes, which is one round and stuff like that. And she'd break it down to 400s and 200s and sprints and what a flurry would be, you know, 50 meters, 100 meters, 12 seconds. That's
Right.
all time. It's all time. Yeah. And that's what she does with my kids. It's phenomenal. It's just, she has everything broken down into time.
Hey, Kamish,
Good for
like
her. Yeah.
Christian Smith, he even knows. First, he said hi. He said what's up to you, Virgil? Christian Smith did, but Virgil's wife is a 4-time Olympic medalist.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally sucks because she's always throwing those gold medals around. I got a silver.
Do you guys have your own trophy case where you got some boxing trophies and belts or something like that? She's got medals? No?
Nothing. There's nothing in my gym. There's no picture of me or none of my belts, nothing like that. nothing. I don't have a man cave and stuff like that. Yeah, she doesn't. Her medals are in the closet. She don't have a problem letting the kids touch them and hold them and stuff. Yeah, but nothing like that in our house. No.
Don't you guys deserve that? I mean, you work for it and everything, and you accomplish so much. You deserve that.
Yeah, but if the kids would do something, I would put that up in my gym. I don't.
Oh, I get that. Yeah.
I'm not. I know what I did. I mean, I'm not. I don't. I'm aware of what I did and stuff. But I want them to have their own thing. I don't know. I mean,
No, as a parent, I
the
get it.
same way with that I am and stuff.
How many?
I've always been very humble and stuff. So
How many kids do you have?
I have my wife and I have 3. We have a boy and 2 girls. They're all grown. All my kids are grown. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Because
Virgil, I'm gonna take.
I hear
Go
in
ahead,
the
Randy.
background. Now,
That's my gym in the background. The kids are walking in and out. I'm
do
sorry.
you have grandkids?
I have grandkids. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Oh boy. Let me tell you what. Woo. Yes, I do. Yep. I've got all boys.
I got
All boys. I got the 1, 2, 3, 4 boys.
nice. I got 7 boys and 5 girls, 12 grandkids.
Yeah, that's putting in the work. That's good.
Well, that's why I got to keep working, because how often birthdays come around and Christmas and this and that. I'm buying gifts all over the place.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's just, I like the part of getting them and then, spoiling them and give them some chocolate before I give them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what being a grandpa's all about. Absolutely. I get it.
I love being a grandparent.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. I missed a lot, with you're at training camp for 3 months, and you miss everything. Everything. My wife was running and stuff. If it wasn't for her family living real close and stuff, it would have been very, very hard. But, she was getting ready for the Olympics and stuff. So I missed a lot of stuff. And I get to make it up with my grandchildren.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this.
Sure.
COVID changed many of us. Many of us. Businesses things have just changed.
Yeah.
I was in the city today. People are still walking around New York City with masks on. They're still afraid. I actually took a few shots. Me and my wife went into the city during the first month of lockdown, and I took several photographs, which you will never see these photos again, because you know what New York City looks like at any given time.
Yeah.
Millions of people. I took a shot in Times Square where you see 1 million people on New Year's Eve. Not one person is out there. It's on a Saturday afternoon. That's
incredible.
It truly was a life changer for everybody.
Yeah.
Did COVID do anything to you guys out there in North Dakota, to you, the Hill family, or anybody else that you love?
No, I don't live in North Dakota. I live in California.
Oh, you're in California now. I'm thinking it's
California.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't speak upon North Dakota, but in California it was, they were tough, but I didn't have to shut down. All I had to do was set up outside and stuff. And ironically enough, I probably had more clientele during that period of time than I do now.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Almost.
Where are you? Northern California or Southern? Here we go again.
Sorry about the train.
Don't worry.
So sorry.
Okay, hey, so where are you? Northern California?
I'm in Southern. I'm in Simi, California.
Oh, okay.
That's where my gym is, but I live in Santa Clarita, which is 30 minutes away.
So if any one of our listeners happen to be in that area, what's the name of your gym in Simi, California? Is it in Simi or?
It's in Simi. It's Quicksilver Hill Sports and Entertainment. Yeah, so it's Quicksilver Hill Boxing Gym. Yeah.
Hey, Virgil.
The Simi's not too big, so
No.
you can't miss it.
It's a
I'm
dot.
right next to the grocery store.
Now, how far of a drive is that from, like, let's say Santa Monica?
Oh, far.
Far?
We're far. We're far. We're in SoCal. We're in. I gotta ask my wife. I'm thinking more western, west. More towards.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Bye, dear. Thank you. They don't know.
Don, that's the first one we've never had the love here. I mean, we always have love on Don's show, but
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm so sorry. Bye, ladies. Good job.
Nothing to be sorry for. That's great. This is great stuff.
They're like my kids. I treat them like that and stuff. So, and we tell them when they come in and stuff, you're in a safe spot. So we make sure that, if they're underage, if they're 15, 16 and stuff like that, we make sure they get to their cars and this and that. Yeah. So.
Don Mcguire, I got to tell you something. I am just so thrilled that you asked me to come on with you and Virgil Hill here, because it has really, I've had a great day, and this has topped off this great day even more.
I feel the same. I mean, it's awesome. You're world renowned, and this guy here is unbelievable. He's trying to keep boxing alive, and we need more of guys like him that will support boxing and help us build it back, because we have to do some building.
If it was up to you, where has boxing maybe over the years, since the '84 Olympic team, since a little bit after that when you won the light heavyweight championship, what has maybe gone wrong in your mind?
Amateurs. All stems from the amateurs. Starts at the bottom, goes right to the top. If you got a bad amateur program, and I'm not saying that USA Boxing is a bad program, but we need medal count. We need it's got to start at the bottom to get to the top. Look at the guys. How many Olympians became world champions in '84 and '88?
A lot.
A lot. We're not even getting medal counts. I mean,
it's
Shakur.
sad.
No, right now Shakur, he got a silver medal and stuff. He's a guy that but it starts right at the base. We got to invest in these kids in order to get the talent to move up. Look at all the world champions that you've had that have come through the amateur program.
But I think also at the highest levels, and the highest level being the Olympics, we have seen, and you and I both know, in professional boxing, many times there are horrendous decisions that leave us just shaking our head. But we've seen, I think the worst decisions we've ever seen have been with the Olympics, like the Roy Jones loss in 1988, when Roy Jones won the fight, and they purposely took it away from him. And this goes on and on and on. And over the years, they keep saying they're going to straighten it out. And the Olympic Committee just keeps battling. And then they come on. I think was it your year? No, I think it was 1992 when Oscar de la Hoya won the gold medal. They start fooling around with these computers where each judge had a blue button and a red button. So let's say Virgil Hill was the assigned blue fighter. So every
I
time you
remember that. The
and
punch thing.
yeah, they would hit a red button or a blue button. And I
Yeah.
was sitting right behind one of the judges one time, and he was getting it all mixed up, and he was looking down at his keyboard, and I'm staring at him. And for about 30 seconds, he's staring at his keyboard when the two fighters are boxing. And I was doing the radio commentary, and I said, this judge is actually looking at his keyboard. How can he possibly score if he's looking at his keyboard? And finally, they kept that for, I think, another Olympics, and they got rid of that because I was ready to take all those keyboards and throw them out into the Mediterranean.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the start, the start of the crash, when they started doing that stuff. It changed the development of the fighters too, because then it was just a rush, who landed the first punch, who got the first click and stuff
Yeah.
like that. There was no, there was no Sugar Ray Leonards. There was no, Sweet Pea and stuff. They would have lost fights. I don't know. It's just my opinion. It starts in the amateurs, and then it gravitates up. If you have a bad amateur program and stuff like that, you're gonna see what you're seeing.
So
the best. Who did not want to fight the best? These guys don't want to fight the best guys out there. Now they're doing it now. Now they're doing it because, what Tank and Ryan did, and now everybody's trying to play catch up. So now, you got all these guys wanting to fight each other. Well, about time.
Yeah.
God.
Hey, let me jump in here real quick because I find this question kind of relevant, because I like to deal in retrospect. And KJ Kordick, who does a tremendous show on Waco, she's a tremendous journalist in her own right. She says, Ray Mercer told me that the Olympic gold medal is the most important accomplishment that he's proud of. Now, I've heard that from several legends on my show, but I also heard several legends tell me that the Golden Gloves meant more than some of their world titles. Where does that sit with the champ Virgil Hill?
I'm sorry, I missed that whole thing.
See, it's okay.
No,
I can repeat myself really quick. A tremendous journalist in KJ Kordick. Oh, don't worry. KJ Kordick is a tremendous journalist, and she said, Ray Mercer told me that the Olympic gold medal was the most important accomplishment that he's proud of. Now, see, in my years of dealing in the sweet science, as you know, Virgil, a lot of the legends of the sport that have come up have told me that it was the Golden Gloves that meant more than some of their world titles. Which is it for you? Is it the Olympics or the Golden Gloves that truly meant the most to you, champ?
Well, it was the Olympics because that was that was the highest thing that you could reach.
Yeah.
Because you're competing against other countries. In the Golden Gloves, we're just competing against everybody from our nation and stuff. Now, if you ask me, nationally, what would have been the best thing, I would go with the Golden Gloves because in my area, the Golden Gloves was the biggest thing. Like Missouri and stuff like that. Golden Gloves was huge. In my in at the time that I was coming up as an amateur and stuff like that. But I couldn't replace the Olympics though, and where it was.
Sure.
It was an amazing thing, and at the time, I'd never been to California ever, and stuff, but to see all that was just it was unbelievable. For me. So the Olympics was a big thing, a really big thing for me, and I had to fight twice as hard to get it. to get there. So it was special.
Yeah.
The Golden Gloves, same thing. Winning the Golden Glove Nationals was the highest thing in where I come from in the upper Midwest area. That was the highest thing that you could possibly reach.
Well, we love our kids out here in the Midwest.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Dallas Cook, Skip Stewart, we go up to Kansas City. I would drive 12 and a half hours to shoot a youth event for free.
Yeah.
Pay for my own hotel, my own food, just to give these kids an opportunity to get recognized.
But how about New York's Golden Gloves?
Yeah.
New York's Golden Gloves takes like what, 6 months to win it? It's unbelievable.
That one's on you, Randy?
I used to watch it on TV, and that's what turned me on to boxing, was the Golden Gloves. Because in the finals they wore golden gloves. And that's when I wanted to box. I go, Dad, I want to do that. Then the next thing was Sugar Ray Leonard, fighting in the Olympics and stuff like that. But yeah, it was remarkable.
Let me ask you one more question before I turn it over to Randy. You went 18 straight fights before you faced Leslie Stewart.
Uh-huh.
Looking back upon that moment, would you say that was really one of the most tremendous tests thus far at that time period in your career?
Yeah, they slow picked me though. They didn't, they slow picked me, but it was crazy. I fought 10 times that year. 10 times. Eddie Futch had me fight 10 times that year. And then they picked me. I was still like a 17-1 underdog on that fight and stuff. But I was fight ready. That was the time. I mean, you don't fight 10 times in 1 year, and I mean, I don't know if I would, and pick a guy. I was fight ready. I mean, I barely even went to training camp. I just came home and we left again. 10 times in 1 year. Before I won the title, I fought 10 times.
18 times straight.
Yeah.
Don and I are having such a good time talking with former world champion, Olympian, all around good guy, Virgil Hill. Virgil, first of all, I didn't even realize that you are in California. For the longest time, I thought you were elsewhere, like in your old, where you grew up and everything.
Yeah.
When did you get to California and stay there?
Well, I started in Vegas because Eddie Futch was in Vegas. So right. I lived right across the hallway from Eddie Futch. We lived in an apartment complex. And that's where I started. Thank God, because I was scared to death. I was fresh. Even though I was 20 years old, I was still from North Dakota. And I'm in Las Vegas all by myself. So I'm glad he was like right next door. And once I turned pro, I went to Vegas, and that's where I spent most of my time.
I knew that. Yeah. But I thought that when the whole career, when it was over, that you were this North Dakota kid, and you put on the cowboy boots and went back to North Dakota. So that came as a complete shock when you said you're in Southern California.
Yeah. I don't even shoot. I never get to wear my cowboy hat and cowboy boots now. Yeah.
I know.
It was too difficult at the time. See, at the time there were no pros, there and stuff, and it was just too difficult to do what I had to do and stuff. Yeah. And Eddie, just going there for training camp, and then it was just too much because, like I said, I fought 10 times 1 year, and yeah. So we had all kind of. The sparring was unbelievable. It was incredible because Eddie Futch was, attached to so many world champions that they're all coming into camp and stuff, and I trained a lot with James Schuler. Except, do you remember him from Philly?
Oh my God, yeah, he was very unfortunately.
Brother, what was it? Martin. Well, they both fought the same weight class and stuff. When they were amateurs, their dad used to make them flip a coin to see if they fought in the finals who was going to win.
Oh my God.
Unreal. Yeah.
When James Schuler had lost only one pro fight, and that I believe was to Tommy Hearns.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, he jumped on his motorcycle and lost his life.
We had training. He was showing me pictures of this motorcycle that he was going to buy after the fight. Sure enough, by the time he got home, he got that motorcycle. 2 weeks later, he was dead. He got ran over by a semi or something like that. That's all he talked about was that motorcycle. Never forget.
We had done an interview with him for Ring Magazine, and I truly believe that James Schuler was going to go on to become the middleweight champ of the world. He was just that good.
He was good.
And it just came as a total shock to everybody when we heard that he was no longer with us.
So, I couldn't believe it because I just saw him 2 weeks ago. Couldn't believe it.
Virgil, do you and your wife, who said you say likes boxing even more than you do, do you follow? And you did mention before something about Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. So obviously, you still are tuned in a little bit to boxing. How much are you tuned in? Very little?
Very little. I mean, I watch the big fights like everybody else and stuff like that. But I am, my wife does promotions and stuff like, so I help her out with some of that. Honey, yeah. That's her.
That's okay. It adds to the show.
Yeah, I hope so. But not a lot. Some of the big fighters and stuff like that. Not a lot. I don't. I love boxing. I like to see a good boxing match, but I don't want to see these these guys fighting lesser opponents. They have to step the game up in order for boxing to survive. They have to step the game up. Look at Ray Litt. Just going back in the days, the best fought the best, and I mean,
yes.
Oh my goodness! It made boxing what it is today.
And another thing, the best, of course, did fight the best, and also back in the day, fighters would fight.
Yeah.
5 times a year, 6 times a year, 7 times a year. Today, guys are fighting once or twice a year. Do you know that the middleweight champion of the world, who's undefeated, he's 32-0, has not fought in 2 years? And this
how?
I don't know.
They would have stripped me so fast and make my head spin.
Right?
When I fought the German Henry oh God, I can't remember his last name. But anyway, he had the
Henry
IBF
Mask.
champion. Yeah, Mask. He had the IBF, right? He didn't fight. He had not fought any of his number one, for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got his belt, I had his mandatories and my mandatories for the WBA.
And the IBF.
Yeah. And the IBF. Figure that out.
That's crazy.
Great.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
today, these guys just sit around. One of the best fighters in the world, the former featherweight champion of the world, his name is Gary Russell Jr. And he's only lost 2 fights, one real early on to Vasily Lomachenko. But since that time, I think it's been in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. He fights once a year. So I nicknamed him Gary Once a Year Russell. That's all he fights.
Sounds appropriate.
But I don't get it when you're that good to be sitting on top of a title. And remember, the fans are the ones that they pay the money to watch you guys and applaud you guys. And yet fans are fans. They want to see their guys. They want to see Virgil Hill in action. They want to see whoever it is. And these guys are sitting on their championships. How can boxing move forward if these guys forget fighting each other? They don't even fight anybody.
Everybody has the dream to win the title, right? That's everybody's dream,
right?
To get to the title. Once you,
it adds to the show.
Yeah, it's layers.
You guys will never forget this, I hope. But
no, wait a minute.
Look,
what was that?
Winning the title is one thing. That's good. But defending it is a whole other thing.
Right.
Whole other thing. Every time you defend the title, you're fighting the guy at his best, his very best. All right? So winning the title is just one part of the thing. Defending it and holding it, that's the other piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other piece. That's how you find out you're legit. You can't win a title and then lose the title and never get back to the title and still get patted on the back. You're not going to get in the Hall of – well, I don't know about now, but back in my day, you wouldn't get in the Hall of Fame for that. You wouldn't get in the Hall of nothing. You'd be in your own hall.
By the way, what's your opinion now of female boxing? I got to tell you, I totally applaud it, and I love these ladies that are getting into the ring and boxing at a very high level. I'm crazy about them.
Well, yeah. I mean, it didn't have anywhere to go but up. And so they need to stop fighting 2-minute rounds and fight 3-minute rounds. I don't get that whole 2-minute deal. And actually, they don't get that either because they would rather go, I think, 3-minute rounds, just like we go 3-minute rounds. So it's hard to make comparisons when not everything is the same. You know, you fight 2 minutes.
I like that.
You know, I don't know. But I'm a big fan of women in the boxing. I have girls here that are, women are just I'm saying this quietly. Women are just inherently a little ornerier than guys are.
That's why Virgil get his butt kicked by his wife. Hey, all jokes aside, I'm going to run through a couple of these questions real quick because I generally like to let people. But Baby Holmes says, as a champion, who was your toughest opponent? I know in my heart who I think your toughest opponent was, and that was Valerie Brudoff. But I could be wrong. Who was Virgil Hill's toughest opponent?
Oh, gosh, everybody I lost to.
That's good.
They were all. Look, I'm telling you. I mean, I probably fought more title fights than I fought regular fights.
You did.
Everybody brought it, and so they all were tough one way or another.
Okay, one guy that you fought. A lot of people say that in his prime, he was as good as anybody who's had boxing gloves on. And I'm talking about Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
And I think when you faced him, he probably was that Roy Jones Jr. Are people right when they compare him at his best to the best there's ever been?
Yeah. So they ask me, who hit the hardest and this and that. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, Roy's punch was, the hardest that I've been hit to the body and stuff like that. But I've been in the gym and gotten cracked, before. I don't remember the guy's name and stuff, probably because I got hit. But yeah, Roy was the quickest guy I ever fought. Not fast, but quick. Like his reaction was really fast.
Well, his IQ is really high.
Yeah. Well, he's a consummate boxer. He's but he can fight. I mean, he just got a soft chin is all. And everybody's got something.
And there was, I mean, the names that you fought were unbelievable. I mean, Frank Tate is another one.
Frank, teammate, yeah.
A teammate, yeah.
I didn't really like Frank that much. So that's why I was totally a different guy with that guy. I mean, he's my Olympic teammate and we're cool now and stuff like that. But when we were fighting, I did not like him. So that's why I beat him up 2 times.
Back to back. Right.
2 times back to back. How do you fight the same guy twice in 3 months?
Right.
That's right. It came one after the other. You just won't see that today, where there's a fight and then a rematch 3 months. That doesn't happen. Yeah. And talk about, I guess it was in about 1991. Because I remember I was commissioner at the time, and when I heard that the fight had been made, I went out to watch it. It was you against Tommy Hearns.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that might have been your first loss.
That was my first loss. Yeah, that was my 31st fight. Yeah.
Losing always hurts. If I'm playing you chess and you beat me, it hurts.
Yeah.
But you know what? But that one was your first loss, and I just felt that there was something more that night. Do you remember much about that fight and how you felt?
Look, you got to remember, I grew up watching Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. It's hard to fight your idol, a guy that you wanted to be like. Now, of course, he's like 6'3", and I'm 5'11", 6 foot, but yeah, it's hard to fight someone like that. And it was my first big fight, and I was probably just a little, I'd had the title there for a while, and probably a little bit more loose than I should have been, because when I left there, I went straight to Australia to regroup, and trained with Johnny Lewis and Jeff Finnick and stuff like that, and got myself back on track and stuff. And that's when I left Freddie and everybody and just regrouped. So thank God, yeah, because Vegas was a little bit too much for me. Not in the party sense and stuff, just too much.
Right.
Yeah.
The irony of your answer is one of my brothers from Australia. He says, "All legends, love the show. Good day from Australia." The irony of it. The great thing about this is I'm like Randy. I love sitting behind a mic. I'm a syndicated, as you know, Virgil. You've been on it a multitude of times. Mm-hmm. And when the pandemic hit, I kind of had to go to this video platform, which I'm learning to like it now, because you get to see your expression, you get to see the emotion, and it brings like a 3D reality to the show, But I love, my greatest work has been done behind the mic. I'm learning to learn how to do this, but
well, you're doing it really well.
Well, I appreciate that, champ.
Both of you guys are really good at this.
Well, he's the pro at it. But I want to go back to, because a gentleman that owns a fighting organization out in California called Grapple X, he's a tremendous gentleman, and he says the U.S. will not be competitive in the Olympic boxing until USA Boxing starts helping and taking care of the athletes. USA Wrestling, amateur wrestling is putting foundations, taking care of the athletes to keep them in the sport longer. What are your thoughts on that statement, champ?
They're making more money than I ever made. I never got paid nothing. They pay athletes now. I never got paid any money. You got to match when you go to camp, you need to bring the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4 guy into camp. And whoever puts in the hardest work goes to the fight. That's what you got to do. It's not rocket science by any means at all and stuff. You got to put the work in and stuff. You got to have the talent. You got to have the talent. Our coaches were Roosevelt Sanders and Pat Nappy and stuff. I never spent any hard time with them and stuff like that, but they were the ones that were in my corner and stuff. They didn't teach me how to fight. I knew how to fight before I got there. What they taught me is how to get in, better shape and this and that. Yeah. Look, you got to bring the heat. You got to, whoever's the best guy goes to the tournament or whatever it is.
As you're training a lot of your amateurs, do you see anybody in there? I mean, there's amateur boxing where but is there anybody in there that you say, you know where I'm going with this, going to the Olympics one day?
No, because I can't do to them what was done to me and how I had to work. It is not the same thing. We've got, I've got girls that, do the cutting things and stuff like that. It's a whole different thing now, mental stuff that I don't even know the proper words to say about it, but it's not, Pat. Do you know?
Would you say that life is? Yeah. Would you say that life is too challenging right now and much harder on the youth moving forward?
Well, I mean, you got to make the best of what it is. I mean, I mean, right now it's not the best. It's not the best time, but it's that time. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to stuff a pill down your mouth and sometimes that's not it. You got to find a better way.
Is that what making you push that much harder, Virgil?
I am sympathetic, because, I can't give them the work that I had and probably the work that I gave my son and stuff. Now they work hard, but you have to get to that next level.
Virgil Hill.
Yes, sir.
Do you think there ever should have been, or do you think there should be a federal boxing commission, for whatever that means?
I think that these commissions have to get on the right. I mean, California's commission is extremely tough.
Oh, they are. Andy Foster does a great job.
But yeah, I know, but they don't okay fights till 2 weeks before the fight. So how do you what if someone pulls out? They don't okay your fights till 2 weeks before the fight. It's very difficult, unless if you're if you're a mom and pop, you know,
Promoter?
yeah, if you're a mom and pop promoter, it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, it's easier for me to go, outside of North Dakota, in North Dakota, and
Well, looks like we lost him. We'll get him back here in a second.
oh, sorry.
Okay,
So
there you go.
it's tough, and it probably should be tough, but I just don't know. It's hard. When you're just a mom and pop
Right.
promoter, and you got to wait 2 weeks before the fight to okay the fights.
Obviously, we
Then
have a
new
lot of
fighters.
questions about our great sport, but very few answers. We can ask a lot of questions, and each one of us might have our own answer to it. Whether
There's answers. I mean, there's answers. It's just nobody wants to answer them. It's you can. Boxing is it's just where you look to get the answer and who you're getting it from.
Well, I think the hard part about with California too is, they've done a great job, but when you have so much bearing onto the state, in
Oh
California, I
yeah.
think is like New York.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the few states that requires so much on the medical side.
Yeah.
Even for a fighter to get into the ring, a lot of fighters I find they stay away from California, and that's selling California short. But they don't have the $2,000 for an MRI and all the medicals that California requires, the
And
EKG and everything.
either do the fighters. Now you have this whole new. It's not new, but this A side B side thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you have that. I don't do A side B side if I fight outside of California. Like in my home state and around surrounding areas and stuff like that. But there's an A side B side thing that is just it's very difficult, and the weight falls on the fighter.
Yeah.
To raise that money and stuff. So it's crazy. I've never had to deal with anything like that ever in my career.
Yeah. Well, since we've been working a lot on, I work with Dan Henderson, Joe Daddy Stevenson, but we cross correlate with MMA and boxing. We do a lot of crowdfunding because a lot of organizations out there, a lot of people don't know that they can't directly give the money to the organization. I don't know if we lost him again or if we got a phone call. He's
No,
back.
someone's calling on my wife's phone.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to give the promoter, or like with IFL with John Frank or whatever his fight league is. I've noticed that they're not allowed directly to give the money to the organization that is going to go to. They have to give it directly to the fighter because of the way the LLCs and their programs are set up. And so we started doing crowdfunding to create free MMA and free boxing for the youth in California and other parts of the country. We've been doing this now for about a year and a half. John Frank's been doing it since 2002.
Wow.
Him and Joe Daddy Stevenson. So, with Scrap Soldier and a bunch of other individuals, we took it to our heart that the pandemic ruined a lot of things. So we decided to come together, create crowdfunding, and give opportunities to these kids that would never get the opportunity. And that's
professional or amateurs.
No, amateurs.
Oh, okay.
I'll get with you, but that's one of the main reasons why
California
I love
has
having.
no problem with amateur fights. They do 180 amateur fights a year. Half the year they're fighting. That's the advantage that we have out here to everybody else. 180 amateur fights a year.
It's a lot.
That,
Is that just in Southern California or
Southern California.
that is?
Now, it might not be that much this year because everything's just starting to open up, but I have a fight on Saturday, a fight on Sunday, and I could fight on Friday.
Wow, that is.
Amateurs.
And certainly you heard of the famed New York Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
Well, guys, the New York Golden Gloves died about 6 years ago. The Daily News ran out of the money to keep the Golden Gloves going, and they shut it down. And the amateur coaches all through the state of New York just were losing their minds without a big tournament. And I got to tell you that a young man, a former Golden Glove champion on Long Island, and I must give this guy a shout out. His name is Christian Vasquez. He has now put on basically the new Golden Gloves, taking all the boroughs in New York, from New York City and Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island and so forth, put all the best amateur fighters together, fighting for what they call the 6-borough championships. I was the announcer the other day on 18 championship fights. And then after that person wins the title, they have to defend the title within 4 to 5 months, or else just give up the belt and let 2 other guys or gals fight for the title. I think it's great. It has replaced the Golden Gloves.
That's interesting.
Wow. Virgil, weren't you just in New York with a fighter?
I was. Yeah, Ronnie Cruz. You fought for the WBO something or other, and their title. Yeah.
You know, after we get off, Virgil, I'd like to give you my number, and
Sure.
I also do a show on Sirius XM Radio. You may remember Jerry Cooney.
I do.
Well, Jerry and I, for 14 years, have done this show together, and we'd love to have you come on with us.
Well, thank you, and thank you, both of you.
Well, I got to thank Don for having me on with you, because, again, when he told me he'd like to have me come on, and then he said, and my guest is going to be Virgil Hill, I was like, oh, my God, I have been dying to sit down and just chat with Virgil. And Virgil, it has been just...
Well, I so appreciate you guys. It's just me and my wife, so I don't really get to talk to anybody.
Next time we want to have your wife on.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't hardly wait.
Hey, Randy, here's a little bit of history, and Virgil can attest to this. 3 years ago, in this very same circumstance, very same spot, I had a heart attack 30 minutes into my interview with Virgil. Yeah. And I stayed on the show for, I think, it's about 10 more minutes. We ended it at about 35, 40-minute mark. And as soon as I ended it with the show with Virgil, I went straight to the hospital because I had had a heart attack while I was interviewing him. And then a year from the date that I had the heart attack, I had Virgil back on because I felt so bad that I ruined the interview that I had to have him back on again.
You didn't ruin it. I'm glad that everything worked out.
You're not kidding, Virg.
Oh Lord,
Well, see, the reason I love Virgil Hill so much is, it's like people don't understand. A lot of people even said when I put the post up, well, North Dakota native. Well, he's not a North Dakota native. He lived in North Dakota, but he was born about an hour and a half from Springfield.
Volume.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Go out and then come back in.
There.
Well, that was me. I thought he was North Dakota all along.
No, I still represent North Dakota in everything.
But he was born in Clinton, Missouri.
But I was born in Clinton, Missouri. Yep.
See, you live and learn.
Well, see, some of his friends, were hitting me up on the phone.
Look, I tell my dad all the time, now that I live in California, I go, well, he's passed and stuff, but when I was younger, I go, Dad, why did you have to be a plumber in North Dakota when you could have been a plumber anywhere? Bro, 20 degrees below zero?
That's where the money's at. That's where the money's
Oh my
at, though.
God, no, it wasn't. No, it isn't.
Champ, I know that you just got done with training, and I know we've already had you. Gosh, I'm enjoying myself. I didn't realize we've already
Thank you,
been on here
gentlemen,
for an
so
hour
much.
and 10 minutes. But I'm gonna hand the mic to Randy Commish Gordon. Let him ask you a couple more questions. But when we get off the show, I'm gonna give Commish your phone number if that's okay with you.
Sure, that would be perfectly fine.
It's absolutely what I want. I just wanted to get into one quick thing. The heavyweight division, these guys are giants today, 6'6", 6'7", 250, 60 pounds. Tyson Fury, 6'9", 285. What are they feeding these guys today?
Have no clue. Can you? It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
When I think about it,
in my day, they would have been basketball players.
Right.
I hope
as
none
a
of them
boxing
heard
historian, when I look at some of the guys like Jack Dempsey and even Joe Louis, they fought about 180 some odd pounds, and these guys are 100 pounds heavier. So, I mean, I think the whole dynamic of boxing has really changed.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially the heavyweight. That's why they need another division because, from cruiserweight and then now you're in heavyweight, there's no way if you're a guy that can only make 220.
Yeah.
How do you compete?
It's, that's a question we have to really think about. My only other question is, listen, when you come on with me and Cooney on Sirius XM, every interview we do is a 15-minute interview. How the hell are Cooney and I going to interview you for 15 minutes when we've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot to say today. I really apologize. I'm usually not chirpy like that, but I guess I had a lot on my mind.
You've done a great job today. You really have.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have had a great day, and you have totally put the punctuation mark on my great day. Thank you guys so much.
I thank you guys, and I thank you guys so much for what you're doing for boxing. It is so important to have this exposure. It is so very important. And you guys are keeping it alive for us, and we appreciate it.
As Muhammad Ali would have said, I like your show. I admire your style. But your pay is so cheap, I won't be back for a while.
Oh, I love it.
That was awesome. I might have to steal that.
Oh, that was tremendous. That
was great.
Oh, that made my night. Virgil, it's been an honor. Yeah, it's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
You've come on my show for, gosh, I can't even think how many years now. I appreciate you opening your heart and your life to me and my listeners. You're a special gentleman, and I'll make sure Randy gets your number. But before we go, I'll hand you the mic. If there's anything you would like to add to the show or just say shout outs or whatever, brother, the floor is yours, champ.
Just this is what we need. This here, you're I'm giving you everything that I have, and this is what we need here in order to keep boxing alive and keep it moving and fresh. And you're seeing, you know, and everything that I tell you is just my opinion. You know, it's not fact and stuff like that. It's just what I feel, what's in my heart, and stuff like that. And you guys are giving me that opportunity to say that, and it means a lot. And I appreciate you guys so much. And let's just keep let's just keep it moving. Keep
Most
pressing
definitely
forward.
can. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I'll give you a call in a couple of
See you,
days.
fellas.
Hey, all
Appreciate
right.
you guys.
Yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Randy.
Bye-bye.
Randy, hold on for just a second.
Yes. And Virgil, he was great. He was fantastic.
Oh, this is what life is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I got Virgil Hill. I'm not letting." No. See, to me, the more you open the wings, the bigger the bird flies, the higher the bird flies. And I believe in life, when you give, it opens the doors for many. And, I sat back, and a lot of your friends have become my friends over the short time that we've known
Sure.
each other. And I've grown in great admiration for what you do. And,
Thank you.
you're very well renowned in the sport. So it's like, the way I feel about it is, why should we create division in the sport when we can open the doors for each other? When we can give each other's opportunities. I get to interview Virgil Hill 3, 4 times a year, and it's an opportunity and a retrospect that I don't take lightly, because I built that relationship with Virgil many, many years ago with Tony Holden, Showbox, the Golden Gloves, all through the Midwest, and to watch Virgil come up and become what he was in the sport was tremendous. And just, for me to sit here and have Randy Commish Gordon interview one of the greatest champions in boxing history with me, it's an honor and a prideful honor for me. I mean, I know you're humble in a lot of ways, Commission, and sometimes I don't know if you get the justification for what you really do in this sport, but I'm going to tell you right now, I look up to you as a mentor. What you do is tremendous. I think when the pandemic hit and you went to doing Randy's Ringside, you're almost at 2,000 shows now, or 1,500 to 2,000 shows.
Yeah.
And well, like Corey Cass said it best, amazing show, legends. And see, I don't rightfully feel that I deserve the name legend, but I put 30, almost December 12th will be my 40th year in this sport. And this is what means something to me. Being able to sit and have a show with people that help create, help build, and still to this day help grow the sport that I love so much. This show will sit in my heart forever because I truly love boxing. It's a part of me that I
I know
don't
you do.
generally. Yeah, it's like Christian Smith, who was a great friend of Virgil Hill's. He said, "Great job, guys." That I love being able to share people, not for what they just did at the sport, but what they do as an individual on their walk in life. And that's where you come in. And I'm truly honored that I had this opportunity to have you, co-host the show with me tonight. It will go down in my top 5, brother.
I am totally humbled by that, because you got to understand, coming on with you and Virgil, it just, for a fight junkie like me, and that's what I have truly been, anybody been watching tonight knows that I am the luckiest fight fan who has ever been born. All I ever wanted to do was maybe get a little job in boxing and maybe get into the gyms with some of the fighters, never realizing it's going to take me to the highest levels of the sport, to be the editor in chief of Ring Magazine, to become the commissioner in New York, and then be talked about as being one of the best commissioners ever. And then to be sitting in the biggest radio studios in the world at Sirius XM doing a show with a guy, a former heavyweight contender, Jerry Cooney, who in the beginning of his career, the two of us didn't like each other at all because he was being fed lies and everything. And then when he realized that some of the people around him were not telling him the truth, and we sat down and got to know each other. Well, here we are 14 years after starting our Sirius XM show. Jerry and I are going to be leaving for Atlantic City tomorrow to do our show on Friday from Atlantic City. One of my very best friends. Am I the luckiest fight fan ever born? Absolutely. You're damn straight.
Well, I felt that way, but with Leon Spinks and, the way our brotherhood started out it was hard, because he was on a downward trend in the sport, and then a multitude of years went by, and I still think to this day, because I have to drive by the spot where I found him laying on the side of the road in the gutter, basically. And, it hits me in the heart because, to see a world champion fall from grace like that. And then I wasn't sure it was him. So I had to pull around and go into the store and get out of my car. And sure enough, it was Leon. But there was a gentleman by the name of Ike Stafford. And I happened to be on the way to his gym. He was a judo boxer and Muay Thai. He taught boxing, excuse me. And so I took Leon over to the gym because Ike had known him for years already. And I told him, I'll tell you what, if you train my fighters, I'll give you a room in the back. And for the next 3 years, Leon created greatness with Ike Stafford out of that gym. And the only thing I will never do again, if I could go back in time and have Leon here and be his buddy again, I would never buy his drinks because he drank double Crevassier. Yeah. And even back then, it was $25 to buy Leon a drink, and then he expects you to take him out for dinner afterwards. But his laugh was so captivating, and when he would call me and then all of a sudden he disappeared, out of the blue. He just disappeared like the wind. And it broke my heart. And then I found out that, he was with Brenda Glure Spinks.
Right.
And I wasn't broken anymore because I know that my brother had gotten someone in his life that truly cared about him. And they gave him the best years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I used to have animosity because I was like, why did Leon have to leave? But then I realized Brenda gave him the best life anybody could possibly give him. And, that was a beautiful part to the ending of his story. And, it's just like with James Toney. And a lot of people don't understand that I've been friends with James Toney longer than I can even remember. Do I like the moniker that he gave me of Dandy Don? Hell no. But when James Toney wants to call you Dandy Don, you let him call you Dandy Don. But what I'm getting at is my life has been so precious because I get opportunities like you to be with some of the greatest men that have ever stepped in a ring or a cage or on a mat. But the boxers I truly hold to my heart, especially the legends, because, those are the ones that really built the sport. Like Virgil was saying, they don't fight like us anymore. Back then, the best fought the best.
Yep.
So after getting to spend an hour with Virgil Hill, how does it make Randy Gordon feel knowing that there's still that part of the sport contributing to our youth and continuing to install that type of knowledge in the future of the sport?
I think it's fantastic because I absolutely did not know what Virgil Hill was doing. I didn't know where he lived. I just remembered the boxing part where I was sitting at ringside watching him. And then I hear him talk about what he's doing and, I didn't even realize who his wife was. And there was this guy that I had covered and written about and announced, and now I'm sitting for 1 hour with you and Virgil, getting to know this guy all over, and I'm telling you, it was a very special night for me.
Man, I'm glad you could make it, Commission. We'll have many
It was a
more of these
long
down
night.
the road.
Coming in from New York City back home, was we just moved into this new condo, this beautiful. I'm living in a dream. Traffic in New York City, you just don't even want to know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just well, this was the perfect cap to really an unbelievably great day. So thank you, Don, so much for what you do all the time.
It means the world to me, Commish. You know, why don't you tell people where they can find you on Sirius Satellite Radio and where they can find you on Randy's Ringside?
Anybody who gets Sirius XM Radio can check me and Cooney out every Monday and every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 to 2 Eastern Time on channel 156. It's called At the Fights with Cooney and the Commish. Right. And then on Facebook, just go to my Facebook page, Randy Commish Gordon, COMMISH. And if you're not friends with me on Facebook, you will be. Just go there, hit me for a friend request. I'll let you in. And then every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm on from anywhere from about 15 minutes to 1 hour with Randy's Ringside, talking the day that happened in boxing. So it's all boxing with me, all boxing, all the time.
I love it too. I'm an avid fan, but you know what? I got Yaki Lopez coming on in maybe in about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I'd like you to join me on that one too, if you're free. I'll get with you on that schedule. So
I would love to do that too. I covered so many of his fights. We'll talk about that too.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, Commish, I'm going to hand you the mic. If there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap things up, the floor is yours.
Just truly, it has been an absolute honor, an absolute pleasure. Don, for all your listeners and my listeners and viewers on Randy's Ringside have come to know you. You are a very special individual. We love you. We draw inspiration from you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was an honor and a privilege, sir, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll get that number to you as soon as we're off here.
Absolutely. You've got to give it to him.
All right. You have a good night, brother.
You too. Be safe, everybody.
All right, good night. That was sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning of the show. For some reason, I know it's on either my end or the studio end. It wasn't on anybody else's. I think they're working on the grid, the cable grid out here for some reason. It's under construction or something. But I mean, I still shouldn't have glitched out in the beginning. I'll take care of that. You know, but I really love tonight's show because Randy Commish Gordon is a tremendous individual at what he does. And so to be able to give him the opportunity to meet my brother and have a 1 hour sit down and be able to just shoot the crap with him, you know, get a greater understanding of him. That's where the sheer beauty of life is really about. On that note, I want to thank you all. Have a good night and God bless.